Blessings, blessings. I should have checked this before I went live. Okay. All right, I always do that. Blessings, blessings, and grand risings. Welcome to Grace in the Mornings. If you don't know who I am, my name is Miss Grace. And I'm here in the morning talking politics, real talk, good talk, and a lot of stuff like that. I missed you guys. I'm a little bit early. Hope you get notifications. Y'all let me know if y'all can hear me. I was having some sound issues because I dropped my phone in the water. But with that goes to say, y'all let me know if y'all can hear me clearly when y'all come on. Let me know if you hear a hissing noise or anything. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We have an amazing live today. We got to get caught up, guys, because I haven't been live for a while. So today, I've been on ice, but okay. So today we're going to be talking about ice, their crazy spending, and also we're going to get into the border patrol, Bovano. Okay, and his lying self. I did not get to go live last night and do the reaction, but we will be doing a reaction of Bavano's testimony and his lies. And I think that's what got them kicked out of Chicago. So today we're going to be highlighting some things. We're going to talk about ICE. We're going to talk about the Border Patrol being kicked out of Chicago and possibly going to Charlotte and a few more other things. So let's get to the spending. We're going to talk about spending, okay? Because ICE, not allegedly, but according to sources, ICE spent over $71 million on guns, ammunition, and chemicals, okay? And those chemicals was used against us, all right? And you already know that they are getting in trouble for using that. So under President Trump, Immigration and Custom Enforcement, ICE has been raiding and running through the country acting like a fool. Okay, so it been brought to our attention that federal procurement data system records show that ICE has spent over $71.5 million from July 20th, okay, July 20th to October 18th on small arms, okay, associated with manufacturers of 6% increase. Well, they said it's a 600, excuse me, let me backtrack. Since January 20th to October 18th, they spent $71.5 million, okay, in 10 months on firearms, on surveillance equipment. Oh, surveillance equipment. I hope they use that when they're in court, which equivalent to 636% increase compared to the same period last year. Let me clarify that. So December 29th, for over 9 million worth of semi-automatic and weapons, rifles, bullets, and also a tire, protective arm was spent between January and October. Now, we're highlighting this because we're going to kind of just talk before we get into this, what they're doing with the SNAP benefits. Before we get into ICE, but because we do have a little win, and I'm going to tell you again, I understand why we have to deport illegal immigrants that who are criminals out of here. But you guys know, if you've been watching, I don't like the way they've been doing things. And the way they're doing things is taking away our rights, okay? So just know, I support the deportation, but not in this manner. But again, $71.5 million spent in less than, what, 11 months? Okay, and now let's just talk about this real quick because we're going to talk about the SNAP benefits. Because God be the glory that I guess our government opened up, and now we can get back to business, holding the people hostage, as you know, which was unacceptable. Again, I'm still trying to figure out why the judge actually refroze the distribution before the government shutdown ended. I'm still trying to understand that, but before I get to, let me get to that. What I was talking to my daughter about that, and she said she was talking to a few of the law students at her college, and they were thinking the reason why the judge threw back down the SNAP benefit case to the lower courts and put it back on freeze at that time allegedly is because the Democrats I don't believe it because I gotta read this, that the Democrats will be able to do an audit of the SNAP benefits. And I was saying to myself, wasn't Doge supposed to do that? And where is the actual things of Doge? So I just wanted to throw that in there. I'll be having these conversations with my young adults, but I was like, okay, because it sounds like y'all trying to make an excuse for her because I ain't like what she did. But God be the glory that the SNAP benefits is back in effect. But there is major updates. So I want to talk about that um, in light of the $71.5 million the Feds is spending on kicking our ass. I'm just keeping it real, just kicking our butt. Good morning, Betty. Good morning, Eric. Get in here, hit the like button. Y'all know what I'm doing. I'm working on some things, but I love streaming like this. I have some videos to show y'all, but we're going to talk about it this morning. So, key updates for the SNAP nutrition benefits. Okay, November 2025 include potential delays again and cuts because of all of the situation that we have been in, the recent government shutdown, new cost of living adjustment, and expanded work requirements. That stems from the big, beautiful bill that we talked about. Maybe I'm going to link that video because we went into detail. I was a long-winded. When we went into the big, beautiful bill, we was talking about taxes and everything. It don't do us too much benefit, but I'm just gonna be quiet. So, court battle. The federal court initial order them to do the full benefit in November. The U.S. Supreme Court, however, issued a stay on the order allowing a potential cut. Now that's what we were just talking about. I'm still trying to find out the why behind her. Okay, it's just a little bit suspect, but we're gonna move on because allegedly it's gonna get back to, I guess, the full benefits that people are supposed to get based on the adjustment from the big beautiful bill. So, conflict guidance. As a result of the USDA issuing conflict directive to the state on November 5th, states were introduced to reduce benefits to 50% of the maximum allotment for the month. On November 8th, after the Supreme Court action, this was walked back and the states were directed to only issue partial benefits. So, guys, y'all going to have to please talk to your caseworkers or people who are, the managers of the SNAP benefits. I really don't know because I don't collect it, but most likely it's a caseworker, and see if your benefit's going to be adjusted or it's going to be partial based on some of these things. So the states may vary. However, for example, this situation is going to affect the benefits and dependent on the states. Some states issue full or partial benefits, while other has suspended payments. For example, Georgia initially suspended payments, then announced partial benefits before and after order allowed the full benefits. So Georgia's getting their full benefits. Benefits are expected to resume quickly after the government reopened. So check your states. So this is some of the, it says increase maximum benefits. Maximum monthly benefits increase slightly for households in 48 states. In Washington, D.C., for example, a family of 4 now receives a maximum. I'm reading this. This is some of the stuff that I got from AI, okay, guys? So we kind of, I got to check it. It says, for example, a family of 4 now receives a maximum of $994, an increase of $19. Increased income limit. The gross net monthly income limits were now raised, but making more families eligible for the program. So some states said that the monthly income went down, but some went up. So this is some of the things that's the monthly income requirement. So just know that people actually work that's on snaps. A lot of people actually work 1 and 2 jobs. So they're going to have to, what is the monthly income requirements. So we're going to look at that, as well as a new federal law passed July 2025. It expanded SNAP working requirements. So this is another thing where I told you guys, if you're my age, above 40, be prepared to work. Be prepared. Be prepared. Okay, that's where you gotta start your own business, have a diversified portfolio. Because look what they had said down here: the age of eligible bodies to work for working requirements, it extends from the age of 55 to 64. But previously, it was 54 that they didn't require people to work. So now Imagine 64 years old still having to look for a job and compete with the younger kids and everything. You know what I'm saying? You still required. This is requirements, meaning that people have to work. You're not going to be able to get the SNAP benefits without working, and that was like that for many states prior to this. As I told you, when I received some type of SNAP benefits, I had to work. You see what I'm saying? I had to participate in the program. That's why when people were like, go get a job, people don't want to work, they on SNAP, this, that, and third, they bums. Actually, they're not. They're probably working 2 and 3 jobs. So the age requirement went up from 55 to 64. Okay. New groups affected is the veterans, homeless people, former foster children, and that's what I talk about too when I talk about the homelessness. Sometimes these people are not old. I had, when we went out there on Wednesdays to give out food, there were young people like my son age 20. He was surprised to see that, to see it was like 20-year-olds out there, and I would assume some of them were trickling off from the foster care. Okay, because they're not acclimated into society properly sometimes. Sometimes they suffer from abuse, usury. So let's get into just a few more. About to finish off long-term program changes. The federal law passed July 2025 also introduced long-term changes in SNAP benefit. Annual increase in benefits amount are now limited to yearly cost of living adjustments. The U.S. is restricted from increasing benefits outside of the schedule until October 1st, 2027. So you got 2 years. Everything is going to stay still, but it's going to be based on the cost of living. Administrative cost shift. Federal government will pay a smaller share of the state administration costs, decreasing from 50, we're talking about the Fed that still get tax money from us, to 25%, which is going to put more weight on the state. So that's going to severely affect people's SNAP benefits. Okay, because the feds gave a good portion for a reason. So, end of the SNAP funding, federal funding for SNAP benefits ends with the fiscal year 2025. So, grant cycle. So it looks like they're only giving 25% of federal money to SNAP benefits, and possibly at the end of this grant cycle, the feds may not be participating in SNAP benefits. Thank you, Trump, while you spend $71.5 million to shoot us down. Okay, so let's get to it today. We're going to be talking about what's going on with ICE. ICE is getting their butt kicked, which they rightly fully deserve, and the Border Patrol is getting kicked out of Chicago. Shout out to Chicago, y'all. So let's watch this. This is Georgia. Is this the judge ruling or the FBI? Let's see what this video is. Let's get our morning started. Thank you for being here. If you don't know who I am, my name is Miss Grace.
To keep in place restrictions which limit the use of force by federal agents in what, of course, is known as Operation Midway Blitz. She simply said she does not think that the Trump administration's version of events is credible after reviewing all of the evidence that was presented to her. And one of those is the confrontation where Gregory Bavino was seen throwing tear gas. Now, at the time, that was an incident that garnered national attention because it brought into question the way that agents were engaging with protesters. The Department of Homeland Security had said that it was warranted because the federal agents were under threat, and the department said that he was hit in the head with a rock. Well, according to his deposition and
he a liar.
evidence in the
I'm sorry, y'all. We're going to watch the testimony. Bavana, he a liar. Plain out liar. This ain't defamation. I'm sorry we didn't get to watch his testimony last night, but we're going to watch it and we're going to react. This man's a bold-faced liar. He said he got hit with a rock. Oh, my God. I did not hear that. That's a bold-faced lie, y'all. Let's
that
go.
Ellis has seen. She says, quote, video evidence ultimately disproved this.
See?
And that he was hit in the head after deploying the tear gas. She also
He
said,
did
quote,
get hit in the
I
head.
find the defendant's
Shoulda.
evidence, the defendant being the federal government, simply not credible. She said that after hours and hours of body cam video and video from helicopters was the best that they could provide. Now, of course, the government's argument when judges provide or issue rulings like this, in this case limiting what federal agents can do, have argued that the judge is micromanaging the situation. And Judge Ellis confronted that head on during this hearing
As
and
she
said,
should.
I quote, I'm doing no such thing with this injunction. Instead, she said that federal agents must give at least 2 separate warnings before issuing riot control weapons with, quote, reasonable opportunity for people to comply.
Thank you, as she
Justice
should, as she should. So this is just a pretext to what was going on to what we're going to get to, because they're getting kicked out of Chicago, and I think it has something to do with this. Now, it's not like they're not going to be in Chicago still, but it has to do with this bravado and his ridiculous lies, as well as they're not even, do you know, in Chicago, in that area, a lot of times they have to get a permit to protest. You have the protesters literally saying, I got a permit and you're telling me to move from this area. And that's what they're doing. And then they're pushing them into areas that they didn't get a permit in. And then it turns into an issue. They setting these people up so many different ways. Okay. But the courts and the people is pushing back. And allegedly, the FBI. Why? Let me see. Y'all said the FBI. Yes. Do you know they issued a memo to ICE? Let's look at it together, dog. I'm like, what you doing over here? You trying to clean up your image?
Issued a memo encouraging ICE officers to stop wearing masks in the field
After
and
the
to
Charlie
specifically
Kirk.
identify themselves. That directive came after several incidents of agents being impersonated. ICE agents say they wear those masks to keep them from being doxxed. ICE also says it's concerned about the safety of its agents in the field. In Fullerton, California, this
So wait, let's stop real quick. So 2 factors: they're afraid about them being doxxed. This is why they want to wear masks, and they're afraid for the agents in the field when their agents are running around here like cowboys. Also, it's been increased incidents, if y'all haven't been able to pay attention because there's so much chaos, that people have been like snatched up with people with masks that was not ICE, that was impersonating ICE. Maybe we'll do a little reaction to that. Okay? That's dangerous. That's scary. And you know they was already doing the ice cream truck thing. Ice cream truck thing, trying to snatch up women. It's that, for them to allow that is ridiculous. So shout out to the FBI for even, trying to correct themselves just a little bit, even though we know they're under fire for the Charlie Kirk investigation. But I'm gonna mind my business. There they go. Let's listen to a little bit more of this.
police came across a gun on a woman on a busy street. He identified himself as an ICE agent and said he felt like she was following him. Joining us now, staff writer at The Atlantic, Nick Miroff. He covers immigration and the Department of Homeland Security and just wrote about the issue of ICE agents wearing face masks. And he says those face mask coverings aren't going anywhere. All right, so Nick, good to have you. Let's talk about the masks. FBI wants them to stop wearing them. Why would they not listen?
Well, I think we've seen other
Blessed
federal agencies
Javar.
that are
Good morning.
assisting
Good
ICE
morning.
in this mass deportation campaign quickly adopt the same, face coverings. One veteran ICE official I talked to said that the FBI agents and the other agencies from the Department of Justice seem even more keen to wear masks than ICE officers, because they don't really want to be there. And so I think there's broad concern about, the effect that this is having, on the image of these agencies, even though nobody really expects the mask to come off anytime soon.
No, oh yes, we do expect the mask to come off soon. Guys, y'all let me know what y'all think about this. Plain and simple, this is dangerous. This is beyond dangerous. And they don't even identify themselves when they are close people. So I can understand you have allegedly a mask on, but then you have some type of name tag on you, something you put around your neck that you pull out and be like, this is my face and my name. They don't even do that. But because they don't have respect for Americans, why would I say that? That made me just think out of pocket. Because
Looking for an
what I'm
easier way-
thinking is, how could they? At first, I'm like,
Business
okay,
name?
these people can't be human. But no, they connected to Trump. Trump is just questionable. But then you like, okay, they're so gun ho to do things that act like cowboys. No discretion, no type, look like they have no law enforcement training at all, as what we have listened to over the last couple of weeks. The most recent one where they were spraying mace outside of the car, mace the family and the 1-year-old. They're running down the street with guns like this. Thank God they don't have their hand on the trigger. God, we don't even know what's going on. They're pointing it out the window at people. These are things that are not trained in law enforcement, and they're like reckless. It's like, who would do this to their fellow Americans? I say all of that to say, did they hire sleeper cells? Y'all know what sleeper cells is, right? Sleeper cells are the migrants, or let's say illegal immigrants that came here from other countries that have an ulterior motive, that may be terrorists. Because how do they do this mass hiring for ICE? I was hearing they was doing Craigslist type of stuff. But let's get to it. Judge order. Now this is another win. Shout out to Chicago. Okay, shout out to the South Side, because they fought hard because they were out there abusing them. Judge order ICE detainee center to release hundreds of detainees. Let's get to it. Hundreds of detainees. Let's go.
And 15 people were identified as falling into that category.
Hold
Those
on.
in that group, they were detained between June 12th and October 7th. Some of those would be able to return to their families while out on bond.
Today was a really great day.
A 2022 consent decree on warrantless arrests made without probable cause during immigration and customs enforcement. Now the reason why possibly hundreds of people will be released to their families on bond. Judge Jeff ICE's Alternatives to Detention program makes more sense, citing a different case, arguing inhumane conditions at the Broadview ICE Processing Center. He said, quote, "We have a lot of people in those detention facilities, and when you have a program like this available, it just seems to me that that's an option. 615 people could be released on bond, whomever is still
breaking
in the country
windows.
and isn't deemed a security or a flight risk. That'll happen by next Friday. By Wednesday, Judge Cummings is ordering the government to produce a more complete list of everyone detained by ICE and CBP in the Chicago area.
Do you hear what they said? They didn't even give a judge a complete list of people that they have in the facility, because they may not know. Some of these people are being held for no crimes, for nothing. I bet you a lot of them just going to be released and they're going to get their bail money back. I bet you a lot of them are held for alleged hitting ICE or doing something to them. Not for immigration things. I bet you.
That's over 3,000 people. Attorneys will then go through that longer list and identify those whose rights have possibly been violated. Then more people could be released. He added, quote, "This court does not sit in a position of making any policy for the government. My position there is to make sure that this consent decree is enforced."
This will allow a lot of people to return to their communities because they never should have been arrested in the first place.
Plain
And
and
those possibly
simple.
hundreds of people would still be considered in federal custody during that time, but will not be kept in a federal facility while their cases are looked into. For example, there were 13 other people discussed in court today. Both parties agreed that their rights were violated, and so they were ordered completely released without bond
See,
by Friday.
once they process these people to court, I told you guys, they're wasting our tax money. They're going to be releasing these people, and these people are going to be able to sue. They're gonna sue. That's why I said I don't understand what Trump is doing. Because at first, you was like we was thinking like, okay, he's a businessman. He's gonna run this like a business, not a successful business because he haven't had one. But with that goes to say, this is worse than an unsuccessful business. This is dangerous. Like he's going towards bankruptcy. He's doing a lot of things that will literally lead the American economy into more debt. And now we're going to have hundreds of U.S. citizens, not migrants, because y'all think of immigrants can't sue immigrants. No, it's going to be U.S. citizens that's going to be suing the administration for wrongful arrest. Do you understand that? So many constitutional violations. This is out of pocket. This is out of pocket. That's why I say Trump looks like he wants to divide the nation. It's not uniting it. He wants to separate the state from the federal government. Again,
Once again, leaving
hold
federal
on. I want you guys to remember, when you listen to Trump people, they say we have to push the president agenda. The president agenda. Doesn't that sound like Project 2025? Does that not sound like Project 2025? I thought that we chose the leader to reflect our needs, our agenda. No, it's Trump agenda. Dictatorship. Now, let's get into this because we get another win this week, y'all. I don't like Bavano. I don't know. Tell me how y'all feel. I don't like Bavano. I don't get a good feel from him. And this is why these type of things are happening, because he's a bold-faced, plain-out liar. Let's watch this. Bavano commander is testifying in court.
questions as to whether or not he violated a temporary restraining order dictating rules around use of force for both himself and for federal agents. Some notable things that came out of that hearing. He admitted that he himself does not wear a body-worn camera. The judge ordered that he get one as soon as possible. She set a deadline for that. She also asked for him to report to her at 6 p.m. every single weekday in person with an account of what had happened during that day and on Mondays, both that day and over the previous weekend. She set a few other rules for him to follow. We'll have a full wrap up of that coming up at 4, 5, and 6.
Shout out to CBS Chicago. Also shout out to Status Coup. They are on it. I think it's WNG. Correct me if I'm saying it wrong. They are on it like kryptonite. They're giving great coverage. So let's get to this real quick. This was a flashback because this is what he had to go through for the last couple of days. They kind of changed it. Excuse me, hold on. They didn't make him testify every day. I don't know why. The judge was probably like, it's taking up too much time. But it was because he needed to be monitored like a baby. He needed to be monitored like a baby. Federal hearing underway for Border Patrol commander over immigration actions. So let's just watch this a little bit. And we're giving you a brief synopsis because tonight, I promise you, we're going to be doing a reaction to his lies. To his lies.
Patrol Commander Gregory Bavino. He is accused, as you may know, of overseeing aggressive immigration enforcement operations in Chicago. Our Darius Johnson joins us live from the Dirksen Federal Courthouse with what's happening this morning. Good morning, Darius.
Good morning, Chris. You know, for the first time, witnesses are now taking the stand as a federal judge now weighs evidence of excessive force and a violation of rights against Border Patrol Commander Gregory Bavino as he has been carrying out immigration enforcement operations for nearly 2 months here in Chicago. Plaintiffs argue Bavino targeted clergy, journalists, and everyday people, saying agents even tear gas children. They claim it's a violation of First Amendment rights. Government attorneys say agents were defending themselves, calling plaintiffs claims exaggerated while pointing to violence from protesters. Witnesses include a priest who says he was hit with a tear gas canister while praying and immediately.
Yep, that's what we was listening to the other night. We're going to listen to everything of this testimony. He says everybody's hyper-inflating everything, but we're watching them be reckless.
media representative who testified that several journalists were struck by pepper balls while clearly being identified as press. In both instances, they took place near or outside that ICE processing facility in Broadview. Now, testimony is raising new questions about how far federal agents can go and how much this judge is willing to tolerate.
The issue for her is if it is proven that any of these officers weren't telling the truth.
What?
That's not good for these officers. The courts frown on perjured testimony, could be contempt of court if in fact that occurred. So
I hope they lock them up because there's been a lot of contempt.
she's looking over the shoulders of these agents, and I hope she continues to do that. So, it's a truth-finding process. Let the truth prevail.
Back out here live this morning, Commander Vivino will not testify live in court. Instead, his recorded deposition will be used. Now, we expect today's hearing to last well throughout the...
Oh no, they don't want him to testify because he a bold-faced liar and he probably have no emotional intelligence. You could tell. You could tell. Oh, I don't think I like Bubba. I don't like him. I don't like him like I didn't like Tiffany Henyard. He's terrible.
Afternoon, as the judge continues to review evidence and additional testimony. We have a reporter inside the courtroom who's going to be covering it all and taking extensive notes. We'll have it all for you later this afternoon. For now, I'm Darius Johnson live at the Dirksen Federal Building. Chris, back to you in studio.
We're going to be watching that tonight. All right, let's see what happens afterwards because basically she called him a bold-faced liar.
Video shows a tense scene between federal agents and anti-ICE protesters in Chicago. U.S. Border Patrol Chief Gregory Bovino appears to throw a tear gas canister towards anti-ICE protesters. The video does not clearly show what happened in the lead-up to the incident or if any warnings were given. A cloud of smoke in the area can be seen as the protesters ran away. Bovino has been accused of violating a federal judge's order to restrict federal agents from using aggressive crowd control tactics at Chicago anti-ICE protests, according to a Thursday court filing. The order includes exceptions for individuals who pose a threat to law enforcement or others. In the filing, the community members allege Bovino threw the tear gas, quote, into a crowd without justification. Prior to the court filing, Bovino defended federal agents' conduct in an interview with CBS, saying, "The use of force I've seen has been
If he don't get his fake G.I. Joe looking, this is why Border Patrol is kicked out of Chicago right now because of him, his lies, and his G.I. Joe tactics."
By exemplary, I would say the least amount of force necessary to accomplish the mission. Bovino, along with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, is a defendant in the case. CNN has reached out to the DHS for comment.
All right, so now we're about to get to where the judge calls him a lie, a bold-faced
Imagine bringing
liar.
your side.
Bold-faced liar. Also, we're gonna I think we're going to be getting to find out why they're going to Charlotte, okay, guys, because I'm a little bit confused myself. If you guys know what's going on out there in Charlotte, are they turned up? Is there some issues out there? Because I really don't know why. Just like I didn't understand with Portland, but then we had allegedly Antifa out there, allegedly.
Greg, it's great to see you, sir. Commander, let's talk about this. What happened here?
Look at
So
this
U.S.
guy.
District Judge Sarah Ellis said that you lied
Sources
about
confirmed
a
to
rock
us
throwing
that
incident at
Chief
an
Gregory
anti-ICE
Bovino,
protest
who
in
is running
Chicago,
Operation
that you
Midwest,
used- that was used to justify deploying tear gas against protesters, that you were actually hit by a rock after you threw
Let's
the tear
watch him
gas.
lie a little
What
bit.
happened here?
Hold on.
Bovino, Greg, it's great to see you, sir. Commander, let's talk about this. What happened here? So U.S. District Judge Sarah Ellis said
see
that you
something.
lied about a rock throwing incident at an anti-ICE protest in Chicago, that was used to justify deploying tear gas against protesters, that you were actually hit by a rock after you threw the tear gas. What happened here? Did you deploy the tear gas twice? What happened here?
Well, Liz, it's good to see you, and thanks for having me again. This injunction and this temporary restraining order, as far as lying, we tell the truth in law enforcement. That's a cornerstone of American law enforcement. What happened that day in the field was pure, unadulterated violence against Border Patrol agents and ICE agents for not just a period of minutes, but for a period of hours, whether they were ramming our vehicles, gang members en route with weapons, physical assaults on agents, rocks being thrown, and that type of thing. And less lethal devices were deployed, and they were deployed in a more than exemplary manner. You may have heard that in my deposition and my testimony, a more than manner. I'm proud of our
Okay, but
agents.
did you admit in court that you lied about the timeline here?
No, ma'am, I did not. If you look at the deposition, I did not admit to lying, and I did not lie.
And that is where we're going to stop at real quick, because we're going to be following up tonight with did he lie? We're going to watch this in real time. And also we're going to go into their plans of going into Charlotte, North Carolina. Okay, so I want to say thank you for being with us. We're going to be doing another live in a few minutes. I need you guys to tune back in. Okay, this was part of our test live. We're testing the equipment, and obviously you see the notifications did not go out, and we're going to continue to fight and strive. So we're going to do a take 2, but this is going to be available. So I want to say thank you for you guys being with us. We'll be back in the next few minutes. Hit the like button.